Hey everyone, thought I'd get some updates going on today and fiddle around with the Nemesis Battle Cruiser as well. It's one of the ones I definitely wanted to get updated for Alpha 11. Um, as in some updates, the MCRN Draper carrier is just about complete. I did do some more LCD work to it and still fiddling, but it's just about done. I need to rig a few sensors up, and I'm kind of trying a different approach to LCD screens on the interior up here. So I got something like this going on. I might adjust them just a little bit yet, but at night I think it also looks pretty cool. A different look to it than a lot of the previous ships. Basically, I just have to rig up these switches yet, and I think at that point in time, I'm just about done with the ship, and then I can get going on screenshots. I've been toggling back and forth between a couple different projects a lot, so probably explain some of the delay on this ship as well, but it's getting there. It really is. At this point in time, I think most things are done. I also changed the graphics slightly. I widened them on my existing LCDs over here. Added in some production power switches, and in the farm I also added in some, let me get over to that area of the ship, added in some farm light control switches for plot 1 and plot 2 over here. And these LCDs are done with a little bit of HTML in them to explain why there's a color difference. There's only one LCD, but what's actually going on here is it's put in like a color code. So it starts at the color that's set here, and then this particular color code of, it's more of a hexadecimal R or red, green, and blue values. So you'd have to translate that to hexadecimal to come up with the right color. Like this is more of a lighter gray. Is what I've got going on here. So it starts out and it does the first part of the LCD in its text color set in the controls here, and then the second part it switches the colors to this gray color, and then it displays this piece, which you can see over here, and then it kind of it restores the color back at the end. I don't believe this last part's actually needed because it doesn't have anything going on beyond that, but that's one of the many things you can do using HTML code inside of an LCD. You can also change sizes, change between bold and italic, and many other different things. So I'm just trying to like do something new with LCDs. I want to create like a new setup and a new style. It's been a while, and I would like to employ that on the big carrier. Now the big carrier I'm not going to show today because it's in a lot of flux. There's a lot of areas that are done up, but and I did a lot more skinning on the body as well, but it's not quite ready to show. So I'll probably show that Friday with a lot of updates, or worthwhile to see the changes on it. This is an interesting craft over here. This is by DOOmnoddle, and this would be considered an illegal build or a premium build, depending how it's said. Now this is why I took an interest in this. This is really cool to see. But a long time ago, oh man, it sunk. Hold on, let me spawn one in. I made this thing, and the intent of it was to be a SV that was larger than the MX-18. It was going to be like a MX-20 or 22 or something like that. But at the time when I started making this, they put in the CPU tier, or well, the first CPU system, introduced weights and volumes, and a bunch of other things. And basically, I just felt that putting the time and effort to complete such a large SV is just going to be kind of pointless, because you probably couldn't use it in game once I was done. It was going to be too big and too expensive, and probably not fly good, and totally not be work with CPU or anything like that. So I sort of abandoned it. Later on, I kind of showed it to some people, and DOOmnoddle said he wanted to take that ship and do something with it, and he did, and he found a great opportunity for it, and that is being a premium build. In other words, this is a SV, but it has CV parts on it, some CV thrusters, and a lot of other stuff going on for it, and it's a really, really big SV. I'm going to just take a look at some of the stats on this right now. So this is a size class 7 SV. It has things that SVs wouldn't normally have, and it does make this an illegal build, so it would show up in red, and it can't be published to the workshop. But I thought that was really, really cool, taking it from this shell of nothing that I abandoned into a full-fledged ship, complete and really decked out. Obviously, you can see the back. Now the thrusters are CV thrusters on the SV are really, really bright, but this thing has power for days, and so many different other features on it. So I thought I'd take a quick walk through that. And the next part after this, I wanted to tool around with the Nemesis Battle Cruiser a little bit to get that set up. I'm gonna change the lighting here to nighttime, because he did an excellent job on the interior on this, and the lighting I think looks really, really cool. It's got that I don't know, a space look to it, I guess, with the cooler lighting. In other words, like more of a blue tint, but everything is so finely detailed throughout the ship, and it has just all kinds of stuff in it that you won't find on a standard SV. Of course, it has regular SV stuff as well, but beyond that, it also has things that you wouldn't see on an SV. Like, for instance, if you take a look at these storage bays on it, they're 320K, so it's using CV storage on here, and there's 4 of these 320K bays or storage bays on it. Also has mining lasers, so an SV with mining lasers. So yeah, this thing can it can kind of do it all. Now in other rooms over here too, it has a deconstructor in here. And check out these engine compartment rooms. Extremely detailed. I just love that. There's so much to look at, and like from ceiling all the way down to the floor, everything is just immaculately set up. Those are things I like to try to do with builds as well, is just try to tweak out every block, you know, whether it's floor, ceiling, walls, everything, to try to get it to look as best that I know how to do, at least. And look at all these little constructors in here too. It's just, there's so much to it. Now this ship also has 2 floors to it, so that's another interesting aspect. So we're on the first floor right now, and upstairs, check this out. We've got like a meeting room. A little bit of Star Wars lingo over here. But yeah, I love the table and the decorations and all that stuff over here. That just looks so cool. And there's some extra seats, some more access to the engine, some fridge, food processors, just all kinds of stuff you wouldn't normally see on a SV. In this room over here, more meeting areas and a bedroom, and quite a playlist and music. Just all kinds of stuff. The amount of just a lot of attention to detail on this build, and it's really cool to see too, because you know it was an abandoned project that I was just never gonna finish. He, well, did more than finish it. I mean, I only got a few hours into this, and he's probably, I don't even want to know how much time he's got into this ship. Quite a lot, I would assume. So I just thought it was just extremely cool to see this, and very nice job, DOOmnoddle. It's quite a ship. Let me just take it for a spin real quick here. And this thing, considering its size class 7, is so fast and agile. it's crazy. So yes, it can actually deal with all the storage it has on it too, and work in gravity and whatnot. And it's got a nice view from the first person cockpit, and I definitely like that. So awesome work on this DOOmnoddle. Very, very cool ship. Unfortunately, this one can't be put to the workshop because it's an illegal build. It breaks the rules of the game. And if you ever wanted to build something like this, how it's actually done is, of course, you have like an SV. You spawn in like a CV or something you want to steal a part out of. You go to that area, you select that part, you hit copy, then you remove your selection. You go over to the other vessel that you want to add that part to. You touch on it to make a small little selection box somewhere on it, and then you hit paste. And then it takes that part from the other ship and it pastes it onto here, even though it technically, you wouldn't think it would work. You would think it would detect that, hey, this part's for a CV and not a SV. I'm not going to do that, but it does it anyway. And that's how a ship like this is made. And it's a lot of work too, because you can't just place the parts you want. You got to like spawn in something else or have them around and copy and paste them over to the ship and position them correctly. It's a lot of work. So I mean, I can't imagine the amount of time that actually went into this to get it all in this state that it's at, which is really, really cool. So moving on, there's been I've been really wanting to get this Nemesis Battle Cruiser compliant to CPU, and I believe it is absolutely possible to do that. Well, I think it is right now, but this one's it's a tough sell, because I mean, if you look at it right now on CPU, it's at 80 million. So the tier 4 CPU stops at 10 million for a CV. So I'm going to take a few steps here and just kind of show you the process I've been kind of doing to some other ships here and there. And I've slowly been trying to work through my the workshop. If I got 8 things updated currently, I've got like another 70 to go. I'm probably not going to update all of them, of course, but some of the bigger ships like this, I definitely want to. Now, this ship is pretty dated because it was made before weights and volumes and a lot of things. So it was never a 7500 CPU compliant ship either. In fact, I think it was built before there was such a thing. The only thing that this followed was it used what weapons were legal in game, and a lot of them, like pretty much the maximum amount of guns and things that you could put on a ship, but it's all legal. It doesn't like put too many of one thing on it. And there was no weights and volumes at the time, so it does not have newer storage systems. It was dependent on just cargo boxes, and that's all there was available when this ship was built. So as some testing right now, I want to see first, can I get this in the realm of 10 million CPU from 80 million? And what will it take to do that? So first thing I'm going to do is add in 4 of the tier 4 CPU blocks, and then I usually have to give it just a little bit of time, and it'll check that in, and it looks like it did already. So it brought the CPU up, max limit up to 10 million. We're at 80 million. Now, the next step that I've been typically doing, even though on this ship I think I know where most of the RCS are, and that's in the front, not the exit, but the engineering room. It's been a while since I've been in this ship. Here, let me, oh, we're way too far up front here. Let me get in the main stretch here. Oh, I'm screwing you up. I'm screwing myself up. Wow, it's been a while since I've been in here. Used to know this ship pretty good, but now I'm struggling. Oh, there's my section. Okay. This was the engineering area in here, and basically I've got a whole bunch of RCSs embedded in these areas here. But I found it, rather than either using like a map thing to like show you where the RCSs are, or manually find them, which can be extraordinarily difficult, what I've been trying to do is I'll place an RCS, and I think I showed this once before too. I will go to the console, I'll turn on debug information, or DI for short, and that puts up the center window up here, and it will tell me what block I'm looking at. In this case, it's RCS block MS_T2. So one other thing I'm going to need to know is the ID of this ship currently, which is 1183. So I will hop in the console while looking at this block here, and I will say replace blocks and 1183, and the block I want to replace is RCS. You have to be case sensitive with this, I believe. I think I've tried it again, not being case sensitive, and it didn't recognize some things, so or it didn't know what I was talking about. So I'm going to replace this particular block with empty, and empty is no block basically. So once I do that, it removed 59 RCS blocks. Okay, so now, as in these advanced RCS are extremely expensive, like 1.25 million CPU a pop, I believe. Yeah, that should have drastically reduced the CPU usage. In fact, it did, and it brought it to 8.4 million CPU. In fact, I could put one RCS back if I really wanted to. We'll see if it needs it here in a minute. So that made this ship CPU compliant. Now the next big part I would do is have to work out a storage system and replace the cargo boxes and other things with actual storage. Now that's probably going to take a while, and I would have to dig into the body and figure out what's what and where that's at. Now this ship had like a double block hull standard on it. In other words, like 2 rows of combat blocks on the exterior hull, and I'm not sure if I even did the interior blocks, if they're just steel, or if I even just checking out some blocks. It looks like I built like even in the interior out of this in combat steel. So that's something I kind of changed at this point in time, where the interior is not combat steel anymore, but in this ship it is. It's not a bad thing. It just it adds to the cost of the ship and the weight, of course. So I've been trying to be a little bit more efficient with stuff. But you know, this ship was its goal in life was to be a combat CV with a huge amount of guns and be able to take some hits. And I necessarily regret having combat steel everywhere. I guess it makes it extra safe inside as well. But with all that gone and the RCS out of the ship, I guess the next big thing is how is it going to handle? And what I'm looking at is like these yaw, pitch, and roll values to see what I'm seeing. And it looks like it has some decent numbers yet. So let me take this for a quick spin. Well, this one also has a secure bridge as well, but so okay, it's sluggish like most of these big CVs are at the time. Let me I'm gonna pop in one RCS here a minute. I'm gonna try to get it somewhere around the center of the ship. Let's put it temporarily like over here. I'll move this around later on, of course, but I just wanted to get it somewhere over here. We'll see what that does to the CPU. Okay, so the CPU is still good, although it's possible I might have to pull that RCS again, depending on how much storage I decide to try to cram in the ship and how much it can actually lift. That's another big question too, is how much lift thrust does it have? And in this case, it looks like this is one of the weird things about this ship, and something I've been trying to avoid moving forward, is basically I had all the lift thrust on the back area of the ship, and there was nothing up front. And it was kind of pointed out that, you know, if you see this flying, if these thrusters were engaged, it looks like it would push the back of the ship up and push the front down, and it would like flip right down into the ground. And I do try to avoid that with newer ships and try to get thrusters up front as well. But to rework that ship to make that work that way, it would be really, really difficult to do at this time. The shape and body really wasn't designed for thrusters up here. But, well, with one RCS, does that make a difference reasonable at all in how it steers? No, not really. I really couldn't tell you if I had an RCS in this or not at the time. So it flies about the same. Anyway, that's stage one in doing this ship. The next part is basically diving in with storage and then probably some, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do much with like trying to change the visuals on the ship at all. Maybe a little bit of cleanup here and there. But I know it can work with CPU doing exactly what I did, and if you want to use this ship in current game, if you pretty much do the steps that I did, it will work in current game and be CPU compliant. It can get by with one RCS and still be at 100% efficiency at tier 4. But that is about it, and that one RCS really isn't doing any noticeable difference whatsoever in how the ship flies. It's a very heavy ship, though. And it also does mining, so that's another neat thing, too, is maximum weapons, plus 6 drill lasers, plus everything else, and it can still be CPU compliant. And as we can see, the entire hull, interior blocks included, are all combat steel on this one. So that makes it, that's pretty cool, actually. On newer ships, of course, with all the limitations and things like that, I've been doing the interior blocks with carbon substrate instead of like the actual hull material or even steel, just to reduce the cost and weight. And this one just took place before that was a thing. Now this ship at one point in time, when it was released, was very quick. It had a lot of thrusters on it. It was very maneuverable, a lot of RCS. So now it is, in that regard, very, very sluggish compared to what it used to be. It used to fly probably every bit as good as an Agile SV. And now it flies a lot more like a big, heavy ship. But I don't mind that so much. I thought it flew too much before, to be quite frank and honest. So that's the case on that one, and I'll over the next week or so, I'm going to try to refit the rest of the areas and then just update the existing blueprint. Now, my big dilemma still is, you know, how many people are going to be using the CPU? Does it matter? I know there's every time I've asked a question, it's been pretty mixed. I mean, there are people that like the CPU and there are people that don't like the CPU. Regardless of that, though, I still have to deal with flight model no matter how much CPU you want. And to get this to fly anywhere close to how it used to fly, let me find an open room here somewhere. I want to take a quick guess at how much RCS it would actually need. So I'm going to just start laying some of these out in here. So right now, here, I'll get rid of that one again. Let's put in 6 RCS, which is going to totally blow the CPU. Oh, and that's the thing. I can't even turn that off right now for testing. So yeah, by putting that in there, it takes it down to 38% efficiency. And then of course my numbers are going to look even worse because now it's getting the efficiency problem going on. So this thing might even crash to the ground with that. So I do have CPU on in the current game. I guess that's a bad test. But as in the back to this ship, I got a couple of things to rig, basically through the performance mode and the standard mode. I think I wanted to get another spotlight on the ship. I realize now that I only have one on this side and no spotlights on this side or anywhere else on the ship. So I might add a couple more spotlights. I got to set up thrusters for the performance and regular mode. The problem with that is I don't have a lot of thrusters to work with, and I don't even know if this ship would need that, because I don't know if I would really want to turn off any of the thrusters ever on it, due to performance sake. It's not a super agile ship as it is. It's again flying like many of the other ships around, which it's very I don't know. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's pretty sluggish at turning right now. But I'm still trying to not have RCS on this one. And this ship too was designed very much for the new flight model, with having thrusters far away from the center of mass and out at the outer edges of the ship, and kind of like front and back, so it could turn without using RCS. And it was turning pretty good, but currently none of the ships are. The newer SVs and stuff I made, they fly terrible now too. I heard that in the current experimental version of the game, and I'm not on that currently, that they fixed that problem and these ships are flying a lot faster now. And I expect that to go live at some point here. So I believe the power will be restored to all these ships that are just suffering greatly on maneuverability at this point in time. So I'm a little worried about that too on releasing this ship right now, because I know at this current state it's flying too sluggishly. It's got a lot of CPU wiggle room, so I could add a number of RCSs to it. This is only at like a little over 3 million CPU, so I could dump in, I don't know, a good 5 RCSs, I'm thinking, if I really wanted to. But I don't know how much difference that's going to make, and it's going to change again. So, kind of at that where I'm scared to release it right now because of that fact, because a lot of people aren't going to understand what's going on in the background with the game mechanics and all the testing, and they're going to get the ship and it's going to fly like you just seen me fly it now, and it's going to be like, oh, this ship hardly moves. And I expect it to be fixed. I really do, because this ship should be a pretty, I won't say super agile ship, but it was certainly flying a lot better than it is now. And it's not that heavy of a ship either. So, but it does work, and I believe it does. All the max speed numbers have changed too, and that's another thing too. It was that they were going faster, and I think things slowed down again with current stuff. It's just a tricky time if you're going to be releasing stuff to the workshop at this moment in time, because a lot of things are still kind of in flux and being altered and switched. So that's my dilemma. I guess I'm going to ask you guys, should I wait a couple more days on this, or until another patch comes out and I feel that the ship is flying better, or would you rather see it released right away? I fear the scrutiny it would go under because of how it's flying. And that scares me a little bit, and I don't want to try to explain it in comments on what's going on and why, because I don't even know. I'm not a dev, so I don't know where they're going exactly with all this. I know they're trying to make it work right, and probably putting a lot of time and effort into making that model feel better and work better, more consistently, but it's just taking a lot of tweaks. Like, from one day to the next, it might change from, everything's too fast to now it's too slow. And I think what they're looking for is a good, happy middle ground. And that's what I'm looking for as well. And I think right now they're on the super slow side of everything again. Like the same thing with the Tashi as well, too. When I first updated that to CPU, by adding the blocks and removing the RCS, it was a pretty agile ship. And now, even though it is CPU compliant, let me get that spawned here real quick. There we are. So this is the one on the workshop, and here, let me get in one of these bridges here. And now this ship is the same thing. It's really, really slow at turning. Kind of like this. I get, you know, so, and on even a past video when I was testing it, it was far, far more agile than it is now without RCS installed. So that's a thing, and it's kind of bugging me right now to release stuff in this environment, because it happened with the recent, fairly recent, like other SV I put out to the workshop too, the MCRN Marauder T3. That one was flying good, and then like just a little bit, either before I released it or just after I released it, the values all changed, and then it was flying very, very sluggishly again. Or it actually never flew that sluggish prior to that. So it bugs me, and I'm kind of wanting to wait a little bit on things, I guess. Let me just see how this is performing at this state here. Oh, actually, well, this one actually feels quite agile now. Wow, really agile. I didn't expect that, so that kind of, that's throwing me for a loop. maybe it was updated for SVs, because this feels right. This it's a little twitchy almost. In fact, from right to left, I'm having a hard time just getting it centered. But yeah, okay, it doesn't seem sluggish. I'm waiting for CVs to have something done though, and I heard that it has been kind of corrected in the experimental branch. But that's about all I've got for today. In the next week or so, expect a workshop update on the Nemesis Battle Cruiser. And also, yeah, I do want to get this released. I'm just concerned at this very moment until another patch comes through. But I'm going to get this ready to release. And like I said, it's almost done. Almost done. It's just I got a few more tweaks, and I just want a little bit more time with it. But then again, I'm scared to release it in the current environment with how it's flying, because I don't like how it's flying. It's too slow. Same thing with Atashi. Same thing with the space carrier. They're all feeling slow right now. And in this case, of course, RCS could be added, but in the other ships, no, RCS cannot be added to them. Or it's not really making any effect, like on the Nemesis over here. It's just adding one RCS doesn't matter. Adding 6, I can't do it. It kills it anyway. So that's kind of the situation on that there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm planning on doing another video Friday, and that's going to mainly cover any progress, if I happen to make any, on the Nemesis, and of course the super carrier. And it's possible I might have this ship out by Friday. I know I keep on pushing back the release date on it, but it's just it's a messy world right now until these things get squared away with the actual game mechanics, because I'm kind of at a state where it's I don't know how things are going to work. I don't know how and they could change from one day to the next with a quick patch, and you just don't know. So I'm kind of waiting for that to stabilize a little bit on this, and see if it's true what I heard, as in the experimental version of the game made these fly a whole lot better again. So that's about all I've got for today, and if you've got any questions, please let me know on things. And Friday I expect to do a more comprehensive update on all the things that have been going on with this this big carrier, and a lot of new areas in it. And the thing is, seriously, it's a floating city. There are so many different places. There's shops. The thing's got a theater now. It's got, of course, it's got your gameplay function stuff, crafting and all that fun stuff. But it's so big, it's gonna need fluff. Things in the ship that don't do anything for gameplay. But it'll be hopefully a pretty fun ship to explore, even down to the crew rooms. Like mid-level crew rooms on the ship are all different, and they're actually being done by different authors. So like from one room to the next, either right side of the ship or left side of the ship, they're all unique. And I kind of dig that, and it's different from one side of the ship to the other side in most sections of the ship as well. because different authors are working on different sides of them and things like that. So it's gonna have it's gonna have some variety for sure and a lot to explore. In fact, I keep on thinking how neat of a like a deathmatch arena this could be if you had like a couple teams of like 8 people and you're trying to like kill all the bad, kill the other team or something like that. And it reminds me how cool it would be if you could actually put like a capsule flag on like a back room, like an engineering, and another one up on the front crew area, and you'd like play it like Unreal Tournament or something where you got teams and you're running back and taking the flag from one side of the ship to the other. I think it would actually be a pretty interesting layout for that. Um, yeah, it'd be interesting. A lot of different pathways to get from the front to the back, but also around the hangar area, a lot of sniper positions and things like that. So, and Z-axis, or in other words, uh, a big thing with making like Unreal Tournament maps was trying to get like different, like elevation and things like that, so you could have areas that were kind of for snipers, and then other areas that are corridor to corridor, so you're more close combat. It's just having the whole variety in a like a arena like that, I think is kind of fun because you got a lot of different gameplay options and ways you're going to go about, you know, accomplishing the goals. All right. Well, anyway, you all have a good day. I will see you later.